Hello, and thank you for tuning in. We're back for part two in the discussion of what it actually means to be a social media influencer. My name is Dannah McKellar Ntaka, and I'd like to welcome you to this channel where we talk about entrepreneurship, work life balance, and all things feminine. You might see me breaking down a wall in an investment property, or you may see me traveling back and forth to a laboratory where I'm conducting research. You can do anything that you want on your channel. It's your channel. You can talk about your life. Some people do web logging, video logging, where they are detailing every part of the day, a day in the life of an entrepreneur, a day in the life of a mom, a day in the life of a scholar. I've seen many channels like that. So you want to be an influencer, or you want to understand the life of an influencer. I've had a very good friend and family member say, "Why do people post so much on social media? It's so annoying." I think that's funny. Well, it just might be annoying, but it is actually today's way of life. Now, I'm not saying that you should put all of your personal business out on the information highway for everyone to see, but there is something that can be said about transparency. I went through a traumatic time 7 years ago, then 6 years ago, and the ultimate was 5 years ago with the loss of my eldest son. That loss was so traumatic that I just couldn't keep it to myself. I just needed everyone to know exactly how painful that was. And here's the reason. A friend used to say to me in college, you just make all difficult things look easy. And I thought, well, that wasn't easy. People don't know how I lay on the floor on my favorite carpet in prayer. Your grandmother taught you to get on your knees and pray. Well, I go even lower than that in total submission to God. I love to exercise on the floor. Sometimes I take a nap on the floor in front of the fireplace. But when we were experiencing a difficult time with my son, I just didn't know anything else to do but to get down on the floor, exercise, pray, meditate. I had to do everything within my power to keep my composure and to make myself feel better. I ended up writing a book about my experience. The book is titled, How Did I Make It Over? That second line from the song that we love to hear Mahalia Jackson sing, How I Made It Over. I felt a little better after I wrote the book, but with each holiday and with each birthday passing, I found, this doesn't really feel better. And grief is just one of those topics that people feel like you're not being a lady or you're not observing the rules of etiquette if you talk excessively about death. In medical science and healthcare, we learn that death is a part of life, but it still feels really different when it comes to your door. So, with being an influencer, back to the topic, you have to pick what you feel that you have expertise in. Don't be afraid to showcase the degrees that you earned. I once heard Bishop T.D. Jakes say, figure out who you are and then just go all out with that. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an academic. I studied anatomy and physiology with an emphasis on embryology, and I studied microbiology with an emphasis on virology. I work at the intersection of pelvic function and the diseases that affect that function. On a full time basis, I am the founder of the Campus of Care Global Healthcare Corporation, which is a public health research institute. We work to ensure healthier outcomes for mothers and their children. Our offices are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, actually in the suburbs in Bala Cynwyd, and our second office is in Dallas, Texas, in the Oaklawn section of town. With being an influencer, You have the opportunity to schedule uploads, to schedule announcements to go out. There are programs that you can subscribe to that will help you plan your social media strategy. So, what is actually the purpose of being in social media? Let me think. One purpose is to meet people. Another purpose is to fellowship with people that you already know. When I first started my social media accounts, my husband said to me, your teenage children want to have a Facebook page, and I'm not the cyber parent, you are. So I had the kind of husband who didn't put his foot down about a lot of things. So the few things that he put his foot down about, I knew I had to comply. And being the social media parent was one of them. Well, now that the children are grown and one has gone on to be with the Lord, I had to figure out now what's my reason for being in social media. And I had that aha moment. And that reason is to influence people to purchase my products, to purchase our services. That's the reason for being on social media. So, as I stated in part one of this series, you have people who are spectators in social media, and then you have people who are there to provide a service. I'm sure we all know somebody who posts about 25 or 30 times a day about whatever is going on. And that's okay. It's their page. They can operate it the way that they like. In social media, you have the opportunity to participate or just scroll. Now, here's the reason for posting frequently. Let's say person A only checks social media at 8 a.m. when they're having their coffee before work. The various media outlets have something called an algorithm, and that's where they decide what gets shown to whom. So if you only post once a day, there's a chance that the 8 a.m. person may not be able to see your product or your service or even your announcement, whatever that important announcement may be. If you're posting every 3 hours, that gives you a chance. With our company, we do 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m. And we have a back office team that does that. I used to manage all of the social media pages myself. Now I still supervise. I go on and I want to answer in my authentic voice. And let me tell you, with our Social Entrepreneurs Initiative at the Campus of Care, we sit and spend time with our entrepreneur. We observe and study their pages and we mimic their pages so that they're getting an extra set of hands with us, they're getting an extra set of brain power with us. So I'll use as an example with MediHelps LLC. Sandra is always talking about the social determinants of health. So are we. That's why we are social entrepreneurs. We're using our scholarship to make the world a better place, to create better outcomes for populations. And I'll get into all of that public health kind of stuff later. But I run into many entrepreneurs who do not want to be an influencer. I run into owners of clinics who say, I don't have time for that. I just want to see my patients, and that's great. We do understand the nature of focus. But those people should consider hiring an outside team, even a college student, someone who can be that social media manager. Our back office team is excellent. I just can't say enough about how they help us to plan our month-long posting strategies, and then they jump in and help. Because the other thing is, if you are not responding to your people, then you get that bad reputation of not participating and engaging your audience. So it took me a moment to figure out. I've been on media maybe 15 years now. It took me a moment to figure out that you do actually have to respond to each and every person, not just with a like, but just a simple thank you to acknowledge their presence and to say, I appreciate you for taking out that time. Because of our active posting schedule, people call us. It's not really out of the blue, it's strategic. When you are constantly in someone's mind, I can think of times that I'm sitting at the red light and I'll think of, oh, Sherry Stern, who's a coach. And Sherry has the greatest channel on TikTok, and she's also on Facebook. That type of influence is the purpose of posting frequently. With those algorithms, you have to make sure that there is continuous content out in the timelines so that whatever time one of your followers logs on to check in with their community and see what they're doing, you have something there. Are you really ready to be an influencer? Say something in the comments if you are. Do you have a favorite influencer? Let me know in the comments if you do. So do your research. Figure out if you want to teach people how to bake or if you just want to share all the lovely things that you're baking. When I talked to Mother Glenda Mayo Hall, who's a trustee member at Southwestern Christian College and it's like a second mother to me, she says, oh, my nieces and nephews are posting what they had for dinner. And I know sometimes the senior and older generations may not understand the nature of this posting, but let's say you are a fashion icon and you really know how to put clothes together. And so you show your followers the latest outfit that you've put together. And my son Toivo was a foodie. He was a self-taught chef. And I know that if Toivo was here, he would be posting, or maybe he wouldn't be, but I would be posting the beautiful meals that he prepared. And because he took so many pictures and I took so many pictures of food that he prepared, I can now look back at those pictures at the 5th year of his passing and say, oh, wow, that was a great meal. And I really appreciated having that meal then and especially now. So figure out if you want to become a social media influencer. And now when you see your neighbor posting every 3 hours, if she's knitting and making beautiful things, you don't have to be annoyed. I can tell you about a series that I'm doing called Lipstick and Lotion. And I am big on time management. I have a lot of devices that I use. Pink is my favorite color. I'm a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I even loved pink as a child before I pledged into the sorority. Anyway, I love journals, and as I was looking at my set of goals for 2022, which are massive, some of these goals I've had in place since I was in my teenage years. And when I looked at the clock, I said, oh, I'm that age that I promised myself I would be doing X, Y, or Z. And I had to become radical. One of my mentors says to me, drastic times call for drastic measures. So this year, I am borrowing a line from Auntie Maxine Waters. I'm reclaiming my time. We all know how to do, well, most of us know how to do a budget, or we should learn how to do a financial budget so that we all live within our means in our homes and in our businesses. But do you do a time audit? Do you take a look at your week and figure out where all those time robbers are located? I don't want to be time poor. This is a great time in my life, even though I have had to overcome some extreme grief and trauma, and I'm not 100% there yet. I've been vocal about that. I've shared with my followers that walk, and I can see now how my walk, my public walk with grief, is helping so many people. Our company has a grief management call on Monday nights, which is a phenomenal time that we have of sharing. With time management and with this time audit, if you're spending 10 hours a week more in traffic than you want to, consider telecommuting some of those days. If you are spending too much time doing laundry, consider downsizing, I can't even get the word out, some of your clothing. I've had to downsize my serial entrepreneurship. I had to move things across the country. This time happened so quickly. 20 years from now, 15 years from now, people will be embarking upon retirement. Now is actually the time to get that book out and start to work on that. That's what we do on this channel. We talk about work-life balance. We talk about entrepreneurship, and we talk about all things feminine because I am a maternal fetal researcher. I enjoy mentoring female entrepreneurs because I have studied the importance of women not being in poverty. Mothers are the first teachers for their children. If a mother is well educated, if a mother is well trained, even if she chooses not to do a formal academic program, there are many wonderful technical programs that can lead to financial success and great business acumen. So I have an interest in women and how we fare at the various stages of our lives. Many times, women have been married in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, and we see as researchers when they hit their 50s, sometimes there may be an elevation in blood pressure because they are now single. They are now head of household. This is why we work to make sure that women have the finances that they need because finance, education, your zip code, all of those factors decide what your health is about. Public health doctrine states that if the least among us are healthy, then everyone is healthy. So in public health, we don't study individuals as much as we study groups of people and populations of people. African Americans, Asians, women, children, the unborn, COVID 19 survivors, long haulers. We're looking to study smokers, people who suffer with infertility, groups of people. There's so much that you can cover in your social media journey. I'd like to see more channels on people who cook the food that our grandmothers used to cook. It's going to be quite traumatic if 10 or 15 years from now, nobody can bake a sweet potato pie. I can bake a sweet potato pie, and I baked several sweet potato pies for Vicki West, who is the CEO of the Herman Munch West Foundation. Come back. We'll be talking more about being an influencer. We'll be talking more about entrepreneurship. I'm Dannah McKellar Ntaka, also known as Professor McKellar, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast.